Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity to gather here together this morning to open the Word, that you can teach us. I ask that you send your Holy Spirit, that he can enlighten our minds and that we learn what you would have us to learn. In Jesus' name, amen.
Ezekiel 21, 24 through 28. Ezekiel 21, 24 through 28. One verse each. I'll start. Therefore, thus saith the Lord God, because ye have made your iniquity to be remembered, in that your transgressions are discovered, so that in all your doings your sins do appear, because I say that ye are come to remembrance, ye shall be taken with the hand.
And thou proclaim, wicked prince of Israel, whose day is come, when iniquity shall have an end.
Thus saith the Lord God, remove the diadem, and take off the crown. This shall not be the same. Exalt him that is low, and abase him that is high.
I will overturn it, and it shall be no more, until he come whose right it is, and I will give it him.
So how do we understand this? How do we understand these verses?
Profane wicked king Zedekiah.
It's Zedekiah.
The crown shall be taken from him.
Passed down to every kingdom. No one's really. We all get this? Or should I pick someone to come up and illustrate it on the board? Everyone settled on this?
Zedekiah was a king, and the crown got passed from Zedekiah to Babylon, Medo, Persia, and Greece is overturned, and then the time period of Rome, Christ came, whose right it was to reign.
Okay, so tell me what remembered means in verse 24, and what Zedekiah means, and what it means that iniquity shall have an end in verse 25.
What was the first question?
What's remembered mean in verse 24?
Sounds like the Sunday law.
Sounds like the Sunday law. What other internal evidence do you have that it's probably the Sunday law?
The hand.
Zedekiah.
It's taken with the hand.
The hand.
The hand's a symbol of the Sunday law, the last phrase of verse 24.
Okay, how so?
Upon several witnesses, we read a bunch yesterday, when the United States stretches forth its hand and clasps the hand of the Roman power, when the papacy comes into the glorious night in verse 41, these shall escape his hand.
Okay.
The hand is where you receive the mark of the beast. The clasping of hand, can two walk together except they be agreed.
Okay.
He's taken with hand. What about
The sin shall be blotted out.
his sin shall be blotted out?
Iniquity shall have an end.
What does that mean?
When the iniquity shall have an end.
When does it have an end?
Well, for the church at the Sunday law.
For the church at the Sunday
And
law.
then, well, I guess, and then there's the universal close of probation for the rest of the world.
Okay, Tyler wants to say something.
No, I was going to say, someone already said it before, but we're saying it quietly. Zedekiah, the fact that you're dealing with Zedekiah points, at least in reference to the seven thunders, the seven kings, that this is the Sunday law. Just by him being referenced.
So every time you see Zedekiah, you see the seven thunders?
I'm not necessarily saying that, but at least maybe in this reference you are.
Okay. What does the root word of Zedekiah? You didn't say it expressly, Sister Allison, but that's what you were saying, right?
Yeah.
What's it mean?
Cleansing.
Same root word that's translated as cleanse in Daniel 8:14. But it's saying that in verse 25, when iniquity shall have an end. Did iniquity have an end on October 22nd, 1844?
Yes,
Yes, it did.
as a type.
It typified. Okay. So Revelation 17,
On October 22nd, 1844.
it's just typified.
I'm saying, but you said you did what iniquity was done already?
The iniquity of God's people are being removed from the most holy place. And October 22nd, 1844 is typifying the Sunday law when that is finalized. You got that? No, yes.
I have to think about it.
Okay, well, did everyone else got that?
Without
The,
that type.
the blotting out of sin, the removal of sin from God's people is the Sunday law. It's even the midnight cry for the priests. But
I had to think about the iniquity shall have an end on, I had to think of Daniel 9, 24, 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city to finish the transgression and to make an end of the sin. And that's the end of 70 weeks, which is also bringing you to the Sunday.
no, it's not.
No?
It's bringing you to the stoning of Stephen.
Yeah, but didn't find that. Sorry, I noticed that. It brings you to the stoning of Stephen, but that typifies in one way the Sunday.
I'm just thinking, could this verse 25 encapsulate the 25:20?
Okay, back to Ezekiel 21. Could verse 20, does someone think that verse 25 can encapsulate the 25:20? Is that what you said, verse 25?
Yeah.
How?
Because if it starts with Zedekiah, and if the iniquity shall have an end is 1844, then that's a 25:20, kind of.
Is it?
Well, if you want to link Zedekiah with the last 7 and the earnest, and you want to go back that way, it kind of links it, I think.
Do you see what he's saying? He's saying the 7th king is the same as the 1st king. Sister Brower?
I think verse 25 isn't talking about a span. I think it's talking about a point whose day has come. It's not a span so much. Specifically, the context is a period, not a period of time, but just a point in time.
Then that means the iniquity shall have an end. It can't be 1844. It's just got to be when Zedekiah comes to his end.
It's not talking about his span, though. It's talking about his spot.
Well, I'm not arguing. I'm just saying if it's not a span, the iniquity that shall have an end can't be 1844. But
it can be typified.
What?
Iniquity is the span.
No, the end of it isn't.
Yeah.
That's how I
But he's
see
saying iniquity is saying span.
Yeah, if you're considering the 2020.
What are we talking about back there?
Tiffany,
I was just thinking that Koloth is meaning that the iniquity is the span. And the end is the point.
I'm just saying it's pointing you to a period in time where the iniquity shall have an end. So I'm not trying to dig up the span and trying to find a span that's not there. I'm just saying it's saying one point and it's saying the next point. So I'm saying if the one point is the start of the 24th.
What's the one point it's saying?
I know. So,
If the iniquity shall have an end is a point 1844, when iniquity shall have an end, that's one point. And thou fain, the wicked prince of Israel, whose day is come, it's another point. It's talking about 2 points. What I'm saying is
Grammatically, it seems like it's talking about the same point.
it's the same point.
Okay.
Right? So what you're saying is that Zedekiah, who would be the last of the 7 kings of Judah, of the last 7 kings, would have to be also Manasseh when the 25:20 began. Right?
That wasn't really.
Is that what he's saying? Is that what logic he would have to?
That's not what I was meaning. That's not what I was
Is that what you're meaning?
No.
You said something about an earnest.
Yeah, because God's people were taken, were scattered. So God's people got scattered. We don't have to put that.
Oh, we don't have to put it on the board?
No, I'm disappointed.
This is Manasseh, 677. This is Zedekiah. What's the date for Zedekiah? Michael, where's your dates?
586.
586. And you're saying because this is the seven thunders, that this is this?
The Lord teaches that.
Yes, the Lord teaches that. How does he teach that?
He in Revelation he says he's the Alpha and Omega, the beginning.
Oh, the Alpha, the Omega.
It shows the end from the beginning.
Yeah, that's Alpha, Omega. We're trying to stick up for you.
First and
Hold up,
last.
you're
Okay,
not
I'm plucking
taking
now.
the
I'm plucking on that.
I think I might disagree because
Okay.
I think in the passage, historically, you have to take what's literally happening first, and maybe that's not what's being described, but I think when he's saying iniquity is coming, shall have an end, he's talking about the end of Israel and them being scattered, and that is the land can now rest, and the scattering takes place, and they're not sinning anymore, at least because they're not he's passing by them in a sense. You know, he's scattering them, and that is the end that is happening. So my point would be that I think it's the same thing. I think the day and the end are the same point. It's
Yeah, we all agreed on that except for maybe him, right? The day, this is the day that
in my mind, that's the day.
Judah's done, finished.
Yeah, Judah's done, and
So
that's
it
the
can't
end of
sin
iniquity.
anymore.
It can't sin anymore, yeah.
Okay, but still, that history is typifying October 22nd, 1844.
I'm just speaking
Which
to the
is
point. I'm just
typifying the
speaking
Sunday
to
law.
the 2 points. That's all I was saying.
But you don't think that this way, Mark, you can include this way, Mark?
No, I do. I'm not sure that's necessarily talking about it in this passage, but that's a valid application.
Okay, so we don't have to go there. Does everyone understand that? But how long a period of time is this? Oh, now you're going to subtract the years, aren't you? I was looking for 46 for the Millerite history.
Yeah.
It's about 200 years, you said? But how long did Jesus say it was?
3 days.
3 days. Okay, so it's a period of time, but it's a point in time. And the end illustrates beginning. That wasn't where we were going with that, but you satisfied with what you wanted to say?
Yeah.
Okay, Revelation 17. Let's go to Revelation 13 first. Pardon me?
91 years.
91 years? Dutch math.
Yeah.
Revelation 13:11 through, let's just start with verse 11. Whose turn?
My turn. 13. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon.
What's the history there?
1798 to 1989, or the Sunday law.
Daniel 11:40.
Daniel 11:40.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's read verses 12 through 18.
And he exercised all the power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed.
And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men.
And he deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had powers to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth, and they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by the sword, and did live.
And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed.
One more, two more. Heather?
And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in the right hand or in the forehead.
And that no man might buy or sell, save he that hath the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name.
All the way to the end?
Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666.
So when the United States speaks as a dragon, we're right here at this way mark, what happens in here? On the verses that we just read.
Causes the rest of the nations to make an image to the beast.
Okay, how are we going to mark that? Deceives the nations. EI? DECEI? So what's it do with the image of the beast? What comes before this that Tyler skipped over?
Fire comes down from heaven.
What's that?
Satan?
Personation of Christ. What does the United States do with the image of the beast?
Gives life unto it.
It tells them they have to set up an image. I guess here, set up. And then do what? Gives life. Then it should what?
Speak and cause.
And what else?
And cause or force or make.
What's that? Persecute?
Yeah.
Okay, so Revelation 17. Is there anything we left out of that, I guess we should say? Put the number 666 in it, right? Revelation 17, verse, fix this. That would be verse 10, 11, and 10 through 18. Let's read it all.
And there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen, and one is, and the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space.
So, what are the 5 that are fallen?
Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, pagan Rome, papal Rome.
Pagan, papal, and John's right here, 1798. Next verse, 5 have fallen, one is the United States. This is the one is. Right? What's this?
Not yet come.
One is yet to come. How about yet to come?
But he's just going to stay right here.
And the 8th of 7. Right? Okay, verse 11.
If that was, and is not even he is the 8th, and is of the 7th, and go into the perdition.
Next verse.
And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast.
So explain that to us, Brother Marco.
Okay. The ten horns symbolize the nations or the United Nations.
Okay.
1798 they are not yet, but they will receive for a short time. All of them one kingdom.
A kingdom singular?
Yes.
What's their kingdom?
The earth.
No, from the verse. You can explain it. I won't walk you through it. The kingdom
The
is...
10 kingdoms are a symbol for all the nations.
Okay.
And
but that's not what I'm getting at.
Okay.
I have a question.
Okay.
You're saying the yet to come is the 8th of the 7th? Because isn't it the 7th?
The 7th is yet to come.
Yes.
But the 8th is of the 7th. The 7th and the 8th are both in here.
Aren't there different ones though, right?
Yep. It's for some reason there's a sequence being marked. The 7th is different than the 8th. But this is where I was getting at with Marco.
This is 1/3.
Okay, there's 1/3. That's not my point.
Okay.
There's a singular kingdom here that the 10 kings get, and their kingdom is a, what do you call it, a confederacy? Not a confederacy, it's a confederacy, but it's a, what's it consist of in the verse?
The beast and the kings.
The beast and the kings. How does it say it?
But receive power,
as kings 1 hour with the beast. So what is this definition of this kingdom?
Two-part.
Threefold union.
Singular.
Pardon me?
Singular?
It's a singular kingdom, but it's
divided powers.
It's the image of the beast that the United States is forcing the world to set up in Revelation 13, isn't it? So you got the 7th kingdom that's yet to come, but it tells us plainly when it comes, they're going to be a co-rule with the beast. But it is 7th and 8th, but it's the 7th doesn't exist without the 8th according to this verse. Sister Tamina?
Don't we mark it as the son-in-law because we wrote it down at the City of the Nations?
Yeah, when we put this together, we'll ask the question from yesterday, when is the threefold union?
Son-in-law.
It's right here. All of this, at one level, happens right here. And what is this, in terms of Daniel 11? This is verse 41.
Just wondering here, I mean, when it says here that, talking about that beast, when it's to receive its power, isn't that also then when the title is actually passed on down, from one kingdom to the next?
Okay, everyone got his answer? Or his question? His question?
No.
Say it again.
Okay, so when it's talking about when it receives its power, is it that when it's receiving its title?
Why are you saying that?
Well, I mean, it's just like, we've seen the battle with the king of the south and the king of the north, and the king of the north had always gotten a title at a certain period of time when it changed from one hand to the next.
Okay, Brother Parminder showed us that before the Rome, whether it's pagan Rome, papal Rome, or modern Rome, before they conquer their 3 obstacles, they become the king of the north in advance of the conquering of the 3 obstacles. So that's what you're talking about. Gets its title as the king of the north. Does anyone agree with him? I don't. The power is a specific characteristic. What's the power? Go to Revelation 13:2, my brother Henry, and read Revelation 13:2.
Okay. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and a seat and great authority.
Okay, explain that to us, brother Henry. Power, seat, and authority, I mean.
Okay. They're all at different periods of time when they're been given power.
Okay, so you can give us dates, but you can also give us definitions. What's the authority? Let's start there.
Okay.
533 is the date.
Political authority.
Justinian.
Yeah.
Political authority. How would we say that? State. Okay, 533. How does Justinian give political authority to the papacy in 533?
He doesn't have it. They give it to him pretty much.
Who doesn't have it?
Justinian doesn't have it. It's really, the authority is given to him. That's how I understood it, right? He doesn't naturally hold that authority, and
Justinian doesn't naturally hold what authority?
he doesn't have, Parminder said he doesn't have the ecclesiastical,
Oh, so you talk. This here is ecclesiastical authority.
yeah, I think that's
It
what
was
I learned.
both. It was both that happened. Because he also said it was the corrector of heretics.
That would be ecclesiastical.
That's the ecclesiastic, and that's
The
what,
head of the churches would be ecclesiastical.
yeah. And that's what Roman is pointing to, that it's something that Justinian gives to the Pope, what Justinian not.
What kind of authority does he have?
It's based on the
He has a
his.
state.
Power.
He has a state power.
It's
Okay.
based on the his power, his seat, and great authority. He has possession over the power and seat, but not the authority. That's the
line.
argument that Parminder was using.
Yeah.
I'm going to say there was a law passed called the Corpus Juris Civilis, and that law was to instate, what's the word I'm looking for? Establish the Catholicism being a law now. They've written it into law where, like,
When was that?
533.
Oh, okay. That's not the decree of Justinian. It's a different one.
No, it's part of it, because now, because that law's there and the Pope is head of that law, the corrector of heretics, he has now the authority to implement that law that's been established, or persecute on the grounds of that law.
Okay. So what's this? We're trying to get to this for Brother Henry. What's this?
330.
And what is it?
It's the moving of the capital from Rome to Constantinople.
Yeah, but I mean, in terms of definition, it's the throne, right? The seat, throne. So what's the power?
Military power.
496. Is Tyler right?
The power to persecute.
I don't think it's power to persecute.
It's
really.
It's Clovis. It's all the people, all the armies that stand up for Rome.
Okay, but when you go in the history of Clovis, does he just give his army to Rome?
No, he does the work for him.
But
yeah, he does his work, but he gives his money to him too. You gotta have money. The power would be what in verse 40 of Daniel 11? Chariots, ships, and horsemen. It's military and economic power. So, I'm going to put deception, because that's kind of how, I don't know if it's really defined by deception, but that's the way Revelation 13 puts it, is the United States uses its military and economic strength to force the world, but it says it deceives the world. So what were you saying about power? In Revelation 17? That it's a title?
Well, I was thinking that possibly it might be, I was asking the question if it was, at that point in time when it had received also the title.
The title comes with the throne.
The title?
The crown comes with the throne, is what we learned.
The crown comes with the throne, yeah.
So that's your entitlement portion of the, if you want to say when your title goes, that's what we learned. A title.
So this would be you're saying that
that's the title.
That the seat would be the title he's looking for, and he's mixing it up with the power,
that's
perhaps.
What we learned, yeah.
But what did these 10 kings receive?
No, he applies the seat as the title. 330. Because 330 comes before 496.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought I was saying that. I was agreeing with her. I was saying that Brother Henry, by saying that the power might be the title that he's giving there, that he's mixing up the seat and the power. Brother Henry is. But in the verse, tell me about the power. What's the 10 kings there? The verse that we just read. It says,
Could
And
you
these 10 horns that thou sawest are 10 kings which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. You got to see this.
tell us how you disagree with Brother Fernando?
I'm not.
He doesn't.
Oh, you did not disagree?
No, I'm not disagreeing.
Oh, okay.
I'm saying that Henry was.
Oh.
Because Henry wasn't holding to the distinction that the power represents the military and economic might in the equation. So someone explain that verse to me. The verse we're on verse 12.
If we describe the power as being the military and the money,
Yeah.
then what is given to them is a military with a bunch of funding.
Given to who?
To this kingdom, whoever we identify as the
10 kings
10 kings, yeah, are given a
are the
military and
UN.
money.
Really? Okay. What does it say? Who gets the power?
The kings.
The kings.
Yep.
Who gives the power to the kings? Who is the power?
The United States.
USA is the power
It's the funding.
that's given to the 10 kings. And then what do they do in the verse?
Give the power to the beast, or rule with the beast, rather.
Yeah.
But we've already decided that the power and the seed are not the same thing, right? The seed that they receive
Yeah,
power
but I'm wanting us to see in this verse right there, you have all three of them.
You do.
You have 10 kings that are going to receive power. It's implying these 10 kings don't have the power of them to themselves. They have to receive power. And who, in verse 12 of Revelation 13, exercises the power? Verse 12 of Revelation 13. Somebody read verse 12 of Revelation 13.
And he exercises all the power of the first beast before him.
Who's that?
United States.
The United States is the one that's associated with the power. So in the verse in Revelation 17, the 10 kings are being given power from some outside entity, evidently, because they're given power to rule with who?
The beast.
The beast. So what is this? This verse is
Threefold union.
threefold union. When is that? According to Sister White, the United States, when the decree goes forth, the United States stretches its hand and grasps the hand of Rome and of the dragon. So, what is verse 12? Sunday law. Right? Yes?
In the encyclica Caritas in Veritate, Pope Benedict suggested that the United Nations should take the control of the world leadership, and they would need a moral instance at their side. This is what explicitly he suggested, this encyclica.
When was that?
2007.
2007. And they probably did similar.
2009, sorry.
Just the beast. Okay. Next verse.
Brother Jeff, right here, the way I understand it, they have not received the kingdom yet, but they've received the power before they received the kingdom. Is that correct?
No.
No, I think it's marking when their kingdom is put in place.
It says, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive this kingdom as
Receive as kings as one out with power as kings.
power as kings is a kingdom.
So, okay.
It's just the semicolon is it's expanding upon the thought that was just already said.
So how do you, in this verse, this is what, verse 12?
Mm-hmm.
How do you line that up with Revelation 13? Where's Revelation? What verses in Revelation 13 correspond to verse 12 of Revelation 17? Wouldn't it be 14 and 15? Where the United States goes to the earth and says, you must set up an image of the beast, and it had power to cause the image to both live and to speak. That's verse 12 of Revelation 17, isn't it? It's not a good sign when everyone just looks down. Are we losing you? This is pretty
What
big.
else? What other ones are you? What are the ones you're saying? Because 12 is the Sunday law too. So which ones you? I don't
12
know the
is the
question.
Sunday law. Pardon me?
You want to see this threefold play in a verse that matches the other threefold play. I don't get the question.
Yeah, okay.
In
What's going on here?
Yeah,
What's going on in verse 12?
The United States is giving its
The United States is giving its power
to the UN, and then the UN
and at the
joins
same
with
time,
papacy.
jump forward to verse 17. Let's read verse 17 and ask this question again. For God hath put in their hearts, the 10 kings, to fulfill his will and to agree, and give their kingdom unto the beast until the words of God shall be fulfilled. When do they give their kingdom unto the beast?
Sunday law.
At verse 12. Verse 12, verse 17, same place, right? There's an agreement struck in verse 12. The United States is going to empower the United Nations, who's going to co-rule with the papacy, which is the image of the beast, the combination of church and state, with the church in control of the relationship. So this is Revelation 17, but this is also Revelation 13, 14, and 15. Right? But all of this begins at a minimum, begins at the Sunday law. That's the threefold union. Yes? So, whose turn to read? Let's read to the end of the chapter. We're on verse 13 now.
It's my turn, but Revelation 13?
17.
17.
13.
Verse 13 of Revelation 17.
These have one mind and shall give their power and strength unto the beast.
Who's these?
King.
So, what's this commenting on? I mean, what's the grammatical term for verse 13's relationship to verse 12? I mean, this is a continuing thought, right?
They have one purpose.
They receive power as kings for 1 hour with the beast. They have one mind and give their power and strength unto the beast.
So they were given the power and strength, and they take it and give it to the next guy.
Yeah. Pardon me?
From the 7th to the 8th.
Yeah, from the 7th to the 8th. But it's the 6th kingdom.
It's mentioned there again, right? Isn't that what the power and strength are? That's the 6th kingdom.
Yeah, all three of them are in there.
Again.
Again.
Okay.
These is the 10 kings. They have one mind, one heart, and give their power and strength. What is their power and strength?
USA.
The United States. Probably you have an argument here that the power and strength is what? Military and economic. And so they just turn it right over to the beast. So all three entities are in verse 13 as well. And of course you have the comment on that, the famous comment from Sister White. She says, there will be a universal bond of union, one great harmony, a confederacy of Satan's forces. And when does this confederacy of Satan's forces take place? At the Sunday law. But Revelation 17 is illustrating a sequence, and so is Revelation 13, because you have, before this arrangement is fully in place, you have the personation of Christ by Satan in here. So this is a tricky one, how this sequence of events can be lined up with the Sunday law.
I think it's one of those things where when we say Sunday law, we're kind of away from it, we're zoomed out from it, and we just say the Sunday law and all these things happen, but the actual Sunday laws, our Sunday law even in the United States is a progressive thing unto itself. If you were to zoom in there, you'd see that day one is the actual national Sunday law as described by Bible prophecy, and then the next day Satan, and then the next day the deception of the world, the nations, so we're putting it at the Sunday law, but in reality there's time there after that still collates to the Sunday law, if that makes sense.
It's got to be something like that.
So what we're saying is that the 6th, the 7th, and the 8th piece is basically the union, the threefold union.
It's the 6th kingdom.
Yeah.
5 have fallen, and the one is the 6th, 7th, and 8th. It's the 6th kingdom.
Yeah.
And 1/3 is 6, 1/3 is 6, 1/3 is 6. This 6/6 is corresponding. It's the same place in the line of prophecy. That 6/6 as this 6th kingdom is in Revelation 17. Verse 14. Did you read? Yeah, you did. Tamina, you want to do verse 14? Are there other people out there?
No, only Michael me.
Okay.
He shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is Lord of lords and the King of kings. And they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful.
Okay, so how does we dealt with it here in the past few studies? How does he make war with the Lamb? Persecuting his people. She plainly says that this is when the persecution begins. Is right in here. That where you're going to have blood spill. Brother Michael. One other thing. What does it mean to be called and chosen and faithful prophetically?
To be sealed in the 3 years message.
3 steps. This is the everlasting gospel, right?
We always put it as the everlasting gospel in our history, 9/11. You go through called, chosen, and faithful. But if you were taking the context of what we were reading, it looks like called, chosen, and faithful really applies at the Sunday law. That's where it should be correctly marked. And how do you then called, chosen, and faithful is more dealing with showing the process you had and then the completion. I don't understand that when we put them earlier when it's dealing with the Sunday law.
They have to be there already.
They have to be.
There are people called at 9/11.
Yeah.
Then they're chosen in this history. And they're, I don't know how to express that. They're proven to be faithful.
At the test of the midnight cry.
Pardon me?
They're proven to be faithful at the midnight cry.
Is that when they're proven to be faithful?
The priest.
The priests are.
Okay. Yeah, I'll go with that, but midnight's got to be part of it, right? Can't separate midnight from the midnight cry.
That's right, you can't.
Okay. So what happens here at the midnight cry to the Levites?
There's a call that goes forward.
They're called,
They're
chosen,
and proven faithful.
faithful. So now what Brown is saying is
Same thing for the 11th hour.
that this seems to be applied at the Sunday law. So the perfect fulfillment of this call is the 11th hour workers. They're chosen and faithful. Okay. Verse 15, brother. Did you read, Michael?
Verse 15. And he saith unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the horse sitteth, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues.
Brown?
And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire.
For God.
Wait a second. Jason, read Leviticus 21:9. Leviticus 21:9.
And the daughter of any priest, if she profane herself by playing the whore, she profaneth her father, she shall be burnt with fire.
This is why she's getting burnt with fire. Chris, 2 Kings 9, verse 10 and 36. I hope I can read my notes right. 2 Kings 9, verses 10 and 36.
It says, And a dog shall eat Jezebel in the portion of Jezreel, and there shall be none to bury her. And he opened the door and fled.
Verse 36.
Wherefore they came again and told him, and he said, This is the word of the Lord, which he spake by his servant Elijah to Tishbite, saying, In the portion of Jezreel shall dogs eat the flesh of Jezebel.
Tyler, verse 17 of Revelation 17.
For God hath put in their hearts to fulfill his will and to agree, and give their kingdom unto the beast until the words of God shall be fulfilled.
And the woman which thou sawest is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth. Okay, Isaiah 23. And we have never, that I know of, really dredged the depth of Isaiah 23. Don't know that we should even try to do it now, but let's at least read through it. So, what's Isaiah 23? What? Tyre shall be forgotten, yes. So, but Revelation 17...
Days of 1 King 1798 or something.
17... What verses would we say covers verse 40? Anyway, I'm not going to break it up. He's carried to 1798 into verse 3. So that'd be like verse 3 through 6. He sees the beast, that's a definition. Probably down to the riddle. Revelation 17 is in here, but the Sunday law is where the threefold union comes together, so it'd be at the end of the sixth kingdom. But let's go through Isaiah 23, because Isaiah 23 is the days of one king, right? And what is that one king? Isaiah 23. Days of one king. Somebody want to read?
Verse 1.
Yep.
The burden of Tyre, howl ye ships of Tarshish, for it is laid waste, so that there is no house, no entering in. From the land of Kidden it is revealed to them.
So what's that all about?
It's a prophecy.
It's a prophecy of Tyre, and we know that the Tyre is the papacy. What's this, howl ye ships of Tarshish, for it is laid waste?
Revelation 18 something. I don't know what it is.
Revelation 18 something, but what is it in Revelation 18? I mean, how's it expressed in Revelation 18? Who's howling in Revelation 18?
Merchants.
The merchants of the earth. Yeah. Why are they howling?
Because of the vandals.
Because of fault.
Because the economic structure of planet Earth's been swept away. What's it mean that this is revealed from Kittim? Or Chittim, or however you pronounce that? How do we pronounce that?
Kittim.
What?
Kittim.
Kittim.
Kittim is Carthage, which is where Genseri, the second trumpet, made war with the ships of Rome. He preyed upon the Roman commerce. So I guess that's paralleling the work of Islam in bringing down the world economy.
How do you make that connection? Does anyone agree with him?
Yes. Egypt was Roman breadbasket.
Pardon me?
Egypt was Rome's breadbasket.
Egypt was Rome's breadbasket.
So to latch on to what Brother Tabo was saying, it's going to affect their economy if the second trumpet is now taken over that and stop that.
Okay, but what's his justification for saying that second trumpet is typifying Islam at the end of the world? That's what I'm getting at. And how does this reveal anything to us? Am I correct in saying this last expression, from the land of Kittim it is revealed to them? That it is saying that the revelation of this burden of Tyre is revealed from the land of Kittim? So what's the land of Kittim?
Well, a trumpet power.
A trumpet power. So a trumpet power is what?
A revealing power.
It's giving you justification for marking Islam because Islam is a trumpet power. That's what the point I'm trying to get to.
I might go so far as to say, and this might be wrong, this is just off the top of my head, but we know that the second trumpet is at 9/11, So, which is the Vandals, and if Carthage is that point which the Vandals are operating off of, then this might be 9/11, where...
Why do we know the second trumpet is 9/11?
Because of the number 4, the way you line out the first 4 trumpets against Western Rome.
So you tell me about, is everyone, if you're familiar with this application, raise your hand. Okay, if you're not familiar, raise your hand. Raise it high. How many understand what he said? So only half of us, not even half of us understand what he's saying. Tell us once again why the second trumpet is 9/11.
Based upon breaking up the history from 1989 to the Sunday Law into the number 4, you can divide that history up and you can place the 4 trumpets, the 4 seals, all the number 4s in the Bible, the 4 abominations into these histories, and when you overlap them, you find that the Vandals, the second trumpet, is 9/11. That's really vague, I know, but...
What's the third trumpet?
Alaric, the Huns. It's bitterness.
But it's the Midnight Cry?
It's Midnight Cry, sorry.
And what's the fourth trumpet?
Odoacer, or however you say it.
What happens in the fourth trumpet?
The sun, moon, and stars are darkened, and
Western Rome is extinguished.
It's extinguished.
So that's why we're putting it at the Sunday Law? Is because of what?
Because the Sunday Law is typifying the United States, the fall of the United States.
Okay, so I think Brother Tyler is trying to say that verse 1
is 9/11.
Is 9/11, but if that were the case, based upon what I was trying to get to on Revealed, what does that mean? Wouldn't it mean that the subject of this chapter is opened up to God's people at 9/11? How could that, what's the logic for that? Go ahead.
I don't know the answer to that question, but just historically, just to throw this out there, that when Tyre was destroyed, they fled to Kittim. They formed Carthage. Its birth is from the Tyrian whatsoever. The citizens of Tyre fled to Carthage, and they became the new merchant city. I don't know what that means, but that might be a connection that's being drawn here. I don't know.
So tell us what the connection is. I'm following.
Kittim is Carthage, right?
Okay.
Am I right in saying that? So if Kittim is Carthage, historically, when Tyre was destroyed, the citizens fled to Kittim, and they formed the city of Carthage, which became the stronghold of the Roman economy. I don't know what that means, but I'm just saying that just historically that's...
I don't know what it means either.
So when it's saying, from Kittim it's revealed unto them, it might be having an application at that level, that they flee to Kittim. But I don't know.
How do we bring this together with verse 14 and 15, where it again says that Kittim, or Tarshish, the ships are howling, and then Tyre is forgotten.
For 70 years.
So 9/11.
There's a forgetting for 70 years?
Yeah.
Verse 12.
Verse 12.
And he said, Thou shalt no more rejoice, O thou oppressed virgin, daughter of Zidon. Arise, pass over to Kittim. There also shalt thou have no rest. So anciently Tyre is the parent of Kittim, and it's passing over to Kittim at the destruction of Tyre, and then in the time of Rome they also shall have no rest, because now that's the economic stronghold, and they get attacked by the second Carthage gets taken by the Vandals, and then they are the stronghold of the Vandals. I don't know, but I'm just saying that there seems to be a connection between...
But I didn't follow your logic. You kind of lost me there. Did you follow it, Brother Marco?
I got stuck when you said that Tyre is the parents of Kittim.
In the sense that, just historically, and even in this verse 12, that when Tyre was destroyed, it was the merchant city. It was the premier of the Mediterranean Sea. It was the #1 merchant city. Kittim took that role when Tyre was destroyed. Kittim became progressively throughout the span of history, it became the premier merchant city. That's why it was the breadbasket of Rome. That's why the Vandals took that.
Yeah.
Is that wrong?
Okay, so but you're going two different directions. Marcos wanting to know if we're putting verse 1 at 9/11, how can we show the papacy receiving a deadly wound in 1798? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, exactly.
1798 parallels 1989 cannot just be like line upon line.
Yeah, it would be not line upon line. 1798 is 1989. So what's your point?
My point is that
Oh, this is going to be a hard chapter.
my point is that 1798 Tyre is forgotten, but in 1989 the ships of Tarshish or the Shittim or whatever are starting to be like laid waste. Economical Islam starts to rise and cause a problem in the world.
Okay, let's cut off the first 14 verses and focus on verse 15 through 18 because we can at least put that in place. I'd like to remind us that one of the things that I hope to emphasize, I've mentioned a couple times before we go through, is that the time of the end and the empowerment of the first angel's message, you can show are interchangeable at one level. Okay, you can show that 1989 or 1798 is Manasseh, but you can also show that Manasseh is 9/11. Okay, so when we're dealing with the beginning of the papacy's deadly wound, or the deadly wound, that has a connection with the empowerment at 9/11. Right? Does everyone understand that? Does everyone understand why Manasseh can be 9/11? No? Anyone else in here understand how Manasseh can be 9/11? You do? Okay, explain it to us.
Manasseh. Well, I remember.
Okay, you remember going through it, but you can't articulate. Manasseh to Zedekiah, right? In the seven thunders. But when you get to this history here at 9/11, what is going to happen to God's people? They're going to have a testing process, right? And what are they going to be tested over?
The sins of the fathers.
The sins of their fathers. And how many sins of the fathers are marked?
4.
And what are those 4 from the line of the seven thunders?
Image of jealousy. Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, I'm looking for the kings.
Oh, the king.
When we're going to take Manasseh is the first, and then Jehoiakim, Jehoiachin, and Zedekiah. Manasseh is right here.
Okay.
Manasseh, Jehoiakim, Chin, and Zedekiah. So Manasseh is here and here.
How did we get from the weep and howl from Revelation 18 to Isaiah 23?
How did we get to the weep and the howl?
Yeah, the weeping and the howling because of the finances and all that's gone to Isaiah 23. I forgot.
You're going the wrong direction.
It's the other way, yeah.
You start in Isaiah and you go into Revelation 18.
How did we get to Isaiah and what's verse 14? Verse 14.
Of Isaiah 23.
Isaiah 23, verse 14.
You got to express your question one more time for me.
Oh, okay. I think I know what's going on.
You think you know what's going on?
I think so. Did you go? You went because of the merchants were there, or their finances were gone when the papacy were getting judged.
The merchants and the kings of the earth in chapter 18 are howling because the economic structure has been taken down by Islam.
Okay, and you link that with Isaiah 23. Thank you.
Sister Tanya? Was there a hand back there? Okay, let's read verses 15, 16, 17, and 18. This is an easier one for us than these previous verses.
And
And it shall come to pass in that day that Tyre shall be forgotten 70 years, according to the days of one king. After the end of 70 years shall Tyre sing as a harlot.
So when's she going to sing?
After the end of 70 years.
What's her singing?
It's her experience.
It's her experience. Sister Wright says that the song of Moses and the Lamb is the song of their experience. What is her experience?
Fornication.
Fornication with the kings of the earth. Who's the first king she commits fornication with?
United States.
Right here. Next verse.
Could we push
them? Pardon me?
Yeah, never mind.
Go ahead.
I was saying maybe she's doing a little bit of song and dance just right before the 7 years in the Midnight Cry, but maybe that's just a fractal of that. It's not a big deal. I'm saying is she fornicating a little bit in the Midnight Cry history leading up to the Sunday Law?
Yes, it's got to be. It's a progressive. Plus, you just at the fractals that would be happening at the Midnight Cry.
Who's howling? The merchants or the ships?
Both.
The ships are howling too?
No, on the ships. No, well, I thought you were saying
Because the merchants are
papacy or
howling.
the merchants.
It's
The merchants are the ships.
the merchants are the ships.
The ships represent the merchants.
Ships represent the merchants, okay.
Aren't they the ships?
Yeah.
The merchants?
Yep.
But not really. That's all right. I'll
Yeah, really. If you got a ship of Tarshish
You've got merchants on that ship.
and they're all, in theory,
So the ship is a system, and the
Tarshishians.
merchants are on the ship. So
Pardon me?
the ships are really a system.
Yeah, it's an
If you're looking
economic
at it
system.
pathetically,
The
there's
owner of the ship's back in the port.
Shipman.
shipman.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Man
Go
of
ahead.
ship.
Okay,
Seaman.
sorry.
What are you going to say, Michael? Nothing?
No, the ships like physically can't howl, and Tyre is not a person. So it's symbolic language. The ships are howling in the sense that the merchants are howling, and Tyre are the people that it's illustrating. Anyways, that's
Thank you.
So, what Michael's saying is that Tyre is destroyed and that she passes over to Carthage or Chittim.
The way that it is that if you break down this prophecy on a literal level, like how it was fulfilled back in history, Babylon comes against Tyre and it destroys Tyre that's on the mainland, but Tyre flees to the little island that sits right off of the coast, and it's about a mile away. And then Babylon pulls back, leaves, it completely obliterates the city of Tyre that existed on the coast. But
It gave it a deadly wound.
And it leaves the ruins. And the prophecy wasn't fully fulfilled because it says it'll scrape it like the top of a rock. The whole city is going to be this flat, desolate land. So later in 332, Alexander the Great came and he took all of the stones from the old rubble and he built a mile-long bridge
To get to the
island. And then that bridge actually turned into land over the course of the last couple thousand years. So now it's actually just a little peninsula. But he built this bridge and then obliterated Tyre again. And then from that point, all the richest citizens fled to Carthage. And about 100 years later, it became the breadbasket of the world. Carthage did. Because of the rich Tyrrhenian citizens that fled there.
Because of the merchants.
After Alexander the Great.
After Alexander the Great.
Okay, but let's just take it at one level. Tyre receives a deadly wound. It's forgotten 70 years and ends up in Carthage, Chittim.
Yeah.
And Greece, the United Nations, is going to destroy her. The 10 kings are going to burn her with fire and eat her flesh. So that's all in there, but we're dealing with verse 16.
Taken heart, go about the city, thou harlot that has been forgotten. Make sweet melody, sing many songs, that thou mayest be remembered.
Okay, so she's forgotten here, but now she's going to be remembered. Pardon me? Yeah, okay. Next, I guess, Tanya.
And it shall come to pass after the end of the 70 years that the Lord will visit Tyre, and she shall turn to her hire, and shall commit fornication with all the kingdoms of the world upon the face of the earth.
You can, the next verse, Sister Grace.
And her merchandise and her hire shall be holiness to the Lord. It shall not be treasured, nor laid up, for her merchandise shall be for them that dwell before the Lord, to eat sufficiently, and the durable clothing, and for durable clothing.
So how do we understand that?
The holiness of the Lord, could that be like a tithe, like as Jericho was?
It'd be like a what?
The tithing to the Lord. Jericho.
A tithe?
Yeah, holiness unto the Lord. That's how with Jericho, all the goods that were found in Jericho were to be do for the Lord.
At one level, isn't this describing what the 11th hour workers do for God's people? They fund the entire movement as they're coming out of Babylon.
Sounds that way to me. That's the 11th hour workers coming out of Babylon and bringing their Babylonian wealth. Okay, so we didn't address the first 14 verses, but that's verse 40. Yes? Okay, so back to Isaiah or Ezekiel 21. You don't have to go back there. I'm going to lay this out. We know that Zedekiah gave the crown to Babylon. It was overthrown. Medo-Persia was overthrown. Greece was overthrown. And Christ come in the time of pagan Rome. But the pioneers identified this as the fourth kingdom. But in Ezekiel 21, Ezekiel is speaking more about the end of the world than the days in which he spoke. So we're seeing that at the end of the world, the crown of Zedekiah is going to pass to who? Second application that we've been dealing with. This would be the head of gold. Papacy. Okay, then who?
United States.
Modern Rome. Okay, what is this in Daniel 11:40 and onward?
Verse 40.
This is the beginning of verse 40, isn't it? 1798, the time of the end. And verse 40 goes to where? To right here.
41, 42.
And then this is what?
41 and 42.
This is 41. This is 42 and 43. Where's 44?
We had 41.
Right here.
Yes, yeah.
Loud cry of the third angels at the Sunday law. The tidings out of the east and the north. Yes? And from here he goes forth to utterly destroy and make away many. And he comes to his end with none to help. So it goes to the close of probation. So this is, for the Millerites, 1798. But for us, it is 1989. Yes? So when Daniel, the book of Daniel is unsealed in 1989, and we have a discrepancy, but people are holding directly to the pioneer position. Let's come back to this. Let me point out the discrepancy first. Go to Daniel 12:12. It's not really a discrepancy. I was aware of this teaching, but it just never clicked for me. But Michael was pushing this teaching the other day with me because the pioneers teach this. And it's something that I think that Tanya read in a quote that goes along with that. But where does it say? Okay, verse 13. Daniel 12:13. But go thou thy way till the end be, for thou shalt rest and stand at in thy lot at the end of the days. Loughborough, perhaps all the pioneers, define this days as what? Unto 2,300 days. Okay, so they're using that, I guess, strictly to say that's 1844. October 22nd, 1844, the end of the days. I've never related to it that way. Notice verse 11. From the time that the daily sacrifice shall be taken away and the abomination that maketh desolate set up, there should be 1,290 days. Blessed is he that waiteth and cometh to the 1,305 and 30 days. I would argue that grammatically these days are more locked in to 1798 and 1843. The 2,300 years isn't even in this passage. But both of those time prophecies are called days in the plural. Come on, Michael.
What they do, or what Loughborough's logic was anyways, and I haven't read others on it, it says that the 1,335 days, because of the grammatical construction, he's saying ends at the same time as the 2,300. Because Miller had 3 time prophecies, the 2520, the 1,335, and the 2,300, where he was given the start dates. And all of them pointed, as Miller understood it, to the second coming of Christ. And so Loughborough is just saying, well, if they point to the second coming of Christ, and the end of the days would be the end of the 2,300, you could even read 2520 into there also, then the 1335 would push with it. It would have to go also to where the other ones went to.
Yeah, and we understand that that is the logic that they were grappling with.
Yeah.
They were trying to uphold premises that they had put in place about the end of the world. I would like to see what they said 50 years on.
No, this is what he says in 1907 or something like that. Yeah.
What?
And that was my question. When did he see?
I think the article's written in 1907.
So they stuck to that.
Yeah, I don't think you have to stick to it. And my point is we went through last week or sometime in the recent past where I was showing you that where Daniel's standing in Daniel 12 is different places. Okay, and when Sister White says how she go? She says when a man stands in his lot ready to fulfill his purpose, something like that. If you put fulfill his purpose and lot in, you'll pull that quote up. It's not Daniel fulfilling its purpose, it's the book of Daniel fulfilling its purpose. And the book of Daniel fulfills its purpose in 1798. It fulfills its purpose at each of these waymarks in the Millerite history.
Doesn't the word come mean toucher as
Yes.
well? So could it also mean it bringing us to 1844 by that word cometh?
I thought so, but I casually mentioned that a couple of days ago.
But even though it's bringing us to 1844, isn't it just a type for us at the end of the world? So it's Daniel fulfilling his prophecy in each part. So the pioneers were right, bringing it to 1844, but it's just a type for us at the end of the world.
I think he's making the case that Loughborough saying it comes to October 22nd, 1844. Okay. And that's what I'm arguing against.
The only reason that I even entertained the idea was because that statement that Tanya brought up, where and if Tanya, you could bring it up.
You got it again.
I have it.
It says, she says the 1335, and she's speaking completely in the language of the 2300, and she says 1335 will take you to the sanctuary being cleansed, and even the people who edited the document, they put in parentheses, $2300. They were like, wait, why'd you say 1335? So even the people who edited the document later were like, whoa, it's not 1335. So anyways, that was what drew my mind to that article.
Read it for us, if you still have it.
Says the Lord sent for
Where
the
is
men It's in MS6, 1876, Part 5. This is from unpublished stuff. The Lord sent for the men to preach the message he should give them that Christ would appear the second time to punish the inhabitants of the earth for their iniquity in 1844. The time passed, the event anticipated did not take place. Yet the message of warning was of God to test and prove the people of the world who heard the note of warning. The mistake was in the event. They were not in error in preaching time. God hid from them the event that was to take place. They thought Christ would come to this earth to purify the world by fire. They regarded the earth as the sanctuary to be cleansed at the end of the 1335 days, but there in parentheses is 2300 with the question mark, and that's edited by the Ellen White State. After the passing of the time, light shone more clearly upon the prophecies that the sanctuary to be cleansed was in heaven. Christ entered the heavenly sanctuary upon the great antitypical day of atonement to cleanse it from the sins of the people by virtue of his own blood.
It's historical.
Yeah,
she's describing in history before 1844.
No, she is, absolutely. But the way that she expresses the language here is the same way that she expresses how the fulfillment of August 11, 18... The only statement we have about August 11, 1840 is expressed in a historical also. She doesn't say, I agree with this. She says, they thought this, but yet we agree with it.
Yeah, but I think that we can understand this in a way that's consistent with what she's saying, and we'll come back to this another day.
But she says another remarkable fulfillment of prophecy. So she's not just saying it was a historical event that just happened when she speaks about this, the Second War.
She ties this all together with the concerning Jonah, with the disappointment of Jonah after preaching.
Okay. For Sister Gracie and others that weren't here, does it go by Gracie or Grace?
Grace.
Grace, where did I get Gracie? From
Lady
your
Gracie.
email?
Yeah, email.
Okay, from the email.
YouTube Lady Gracie. YouTube.
Sorry. I wanted to make a point the other day that had nothing to do with the 1335 or down to 12. I wanted to make a point that we saw that right here is the end of verse 40 and right here's 41, and they touch. Okay, so I went to 12:12 of Daniel because I had an understanding that it doesn't appear at face value to square with what you guys are saying. October 22nd, 1844. My contention is that you have, it's vague, but when it comes to 508, the Battle of the Visigoths, the most that you can say about 508, I think, is that it took place in the spring. Okay? But Jesus illustrates the end from the beginning. So 508, beginning to 1290, it takes you to 1798. And the fulfillment of 1798 was in the spring. Right? When the Goths are driven out of the city of Rome. Yes? 508, 538. Still spring. And the Pope's taken captive? Spring. Okay, so inclusive record. Yeah. No, I'm saying it's vague, and if you want to say no, you can't really argue spring, then it doesn't affect my point. My point is that when we're talking about the 1335 and placing it on October 22nd, 1844, it's way far away from the spring. It's the fall. Okay, so the few references we have to 508, which is the beginning of the prophecy and should illustrate the end, it's spring, an end spring, an end, a squishy spring, okay, February. But still, it's in that general area. I don't think we have the justification for putting it down here at October 22nd. So my point is that blessed is he who toucheth the 1335, and the 1335, but simple math takes you to 1843, and there's only two places that you can touch 1843. I was trying to get this philosophical idea in place. Where's the two places you can touch 1843? At the end of 1842 or the beginning of 1844. Okay, you're either going to place the conclusion of the 1335 at the end of 1842, beginning of 1843, or the end of 1843, beginning of 1844. But there's a blessing also associated with this in verse 12, which allows you to say, "Blessed is he who waiteth and cometh to the 1335." Now, you guys made an argument that there's a tarrying time in 1798, but I'm arguing. Does someone have a Ellen White CD-ROM up and running real easy? But put 1843, 1844, and blessed, and eyes.
I know.
And while you're looking for that, verse 12, and I can't argue too hard about the grammar because my grammar's terrible, but I thought you can read verse 12 this way: "Blessed is he that waiteth, and blessed is he that toucheth." Okay, go ahead.
So the way that I understand that you would have to read it in order to understand the waited as future from the end of the 1335 instead of prior to leading you to that point is you'd have to read it, "Blessed is he that waiteth when he cometh to the end of the 1335. If you were going to change it so that you would read it in an accurate way to reflect what you're saying, you would have to read it, "Blessed is he that waiteth after the end of 1335. And in the way that I'm saying or suggesting that it reads is that "Blessed is he that waiteth, and in the future, after waiting, cometh to the end of the 1335.
And if you're following what he's saying, either case, I would argue, still puts you right here.
Yeah.
On April.
Because the other thing's a separate argument. October 22nd is a second.
You see that he and I are in agreement with where you put the waymark for the conclusion of the 1335, but we're having a disagreement about the waiting. So some people are. What did we see? We can put Jehoiakim here, and Jehoiakim means tarry.
Also.
So in any case.
So you wanted the text?
Yes.
Blessed are the eyes which saw the things that were seen in 1843 and 1844. Second manuscript releases 20.
But read on.
The message was given, and there should be no delay in repeating the message, for the signs of the times are fulfilling. The closing work must be done. A great work will be done in a short time. A message will soon be given by God's appointment that will swell into a loud cry. Then Daniel will stand in his lot to give his testimony.
Okay, so when will Daniel stand in his lot? By that passage. When the message is swelling to a loud cry. Yes?
So this is just me.
Yeah.
So it's another statement which I thought was interesting. She says, Daniel has been standing in his lot since the seal was removed and the light of truth has been shining upon his visions. He stands in his lot, bearing the testimony which was to be understood at the end of the days.
Yeah, we went through several of those.
Sorry.
Daniel could be standing in his lot in 1798.
Yeah.
I'm saying he's standing in his lot right here in this passage, and you're saying he's standing in his lot right here. This is my argument, is he's standing at each one of these waymarks.
Yeah.
Sister Tanya?
In the original letter, she has a paragraph in it that is not in the Alma. Says the attentions of our churches must be aroused before he. We are standing upon the borders of the greatest event in the world history, and Satan must not have the power over the people of God, causing them to sleep on. The papacy will appear in its power. All must now arouse and search the scriptures, for God will make known to his faithful ones what shall be in the last time. The word of the Lord is to come to his people in power. There she goes. The signs of the end are fast fulfilling. The time of trouble is very near us now.
Okay, but we're getting too far away from what Marco read. I'm saying that She's talking about the loud cry being a repetition of this history. Blessed are the eyes that saw what took place in 1843 and 1844. Did they give a message on October 23rd, 1844 that typifies the loud cry message? No. They were disappointed. Where is it that they gave the message that she's referring to that typifies the loud cry message? In this history. Okay, I'm saying the blessing is, you see 1843 and 1844. What did you see in 1843 and 1844? The disappointment that separated the Protestants from the Millerites. And in this history, they're giving the midnight cry, which is typifying the loud cry, which, for me, her witness and Isaiah 30:18 and Habakkuk 2 and Revelation or Matthew 25 are pointing to this waymark line upon line. Brother Kola?
In verse 12 it says, blessed is he that waiteth and cometh. But that waiteth in the Strong's, the word carved or pierced. You could read it, blessed is he that is pierced or carved and cometh to the and cometh to April 19th.
No, it's adhering in the sense of piercing.
Pardon?
It doesn't mean pierced, it's adhering in the sense of piercing.
I tell you what, the root word has got pierced and carved in there.
So what does that mean? Even if he's got a right application, what does it mean? Blessed is he that pierced and carved.
In 1798, there could be a carving of the stone. Stone could be getting cut out the mountain. So it could be blessed is he that begins to get cut out the mountain and then cometh to April 19th.
Okay, we're not going to answer any questions, but we'll let you put your questions in the record. Sister Tamina, Sister Brown, and anyone else that I didn't see. And we're done. Okay, Tamina's surrendering her to you.
Hiram Edson is saying between 1798 and 1843 is where the waiting is coming. Between the end of the 1290 into 1843, that's where the waiting comes, and then when you get to that time and you touch 1843, 1335, that waiting between the end of the papacy up until 1843, that's where the blessing is, and that's how he identifies it.
This, what she just said, I just want to reconfirm, is that the way that I understand it, it still puts the blessing right at the end there. So
that's what he's saying.
The blessing still comes at the end.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We're in agreement. I was using the touching to make a point about this history, but this waiting here, kind of a new idea to me. I get it that the pioneers taught it, and I guess if we're going to put Jehoiakim here, we can put Jehoiakim here, which means tarry. But does anyone have any insight about why this is a waiting? What?
It's a blessed tarrying time.
This is the tarrying time begins here. You're not going to shake me from that one.
No, we don't want to call that the tarrying time anyways.
A blessed waiting time.
A blessed waiting time. Waiting and tarrying is different.
Symbols can have more than one meaning. Not every time that you see the word wait has to be tarry necessarily. We already understand this in other lines.
Okay, Michael, you want to have the closing prayer?
Heavenly Father, we thank you again for waking us up and giving us this opportunity to study your word. We ask that you will enlighten our minds and help us to understand the things that are difficult to be understood. Please forgive us of our sins, Lord, and we ask that you will be with us and that we might glorify you today as we go about our various activities. In Jesus' name, amen.